Welcome to the Understanding Mind. My name is James. I'm here with John. So he is actually like one of the first people I have on this podcast, and we're going to be talking about 4 different subjects. We're going to be talking about belief, consistent, love, and sports. So we're going to start with belief. What is your sense of belief?
I think it all stems from experience.
Right.
You know, I feel like we're all born, not everybody's born, but I was born to love God, you know what I mean? As a kid, my grandmother prayed, my mother prayed. It was just kind of something they told me. And throughout the years, teenage years, early adulthood years, I kind of lost it, you know, stopped going to church as much and things of that nature. And I feel like, you know, in my 20s, mid-20s in particularly, I had lost God, you know, in a sense. Like I believed he was there, but I didn't talk to him. I didn't read. I didn't know anything about him. So it was just, I was kind of lost those years, man. And there were some tough years.
Right.
And I feel like recently, you know, about a year now, I've gotten back to God. Just one day it just clicked and I felt the energy, the presence of God. And I believe God is very real because of my experiences and because, you know, I just know. And I feel like at one point I didn't really know and I was skeptical. I was a skeptical person.
Right.
I wouldn't go as far as saying I was an atheist, but I didn't really know what to believe in because of the way churches are and all that type of stuff. And I haven't been to church actually, but I feel like my relationship with God is more locked in than ever before, and I feel my life flourishing in ways that it didn't before when I was farther away from God.
You build your atmosphere around God within your own perspective. Would you believe if you went to church, do you think you would have a different perspective of how you believe it was before in the past?
It's possible, I guess, because you know my mind would be filled with a lot more information about God, and it'd be more on a consistent base. I would just have to consider, you know, what church and things like that. But as far as my relationship, I feel like my relationship with God is pure now because of the things I've went through and the way I've talked to God, and I've seen things change around me.
Mm-hmm.
I've felt the energy. I've seen people come and go because of God, because I asked God, please push bad energy people away from my life. And it's at one point I had a lot of friends, you know? And I just asked God, please, I want good energy in my life. I want good people. My family are very good people. And that's what I want to keep around me. And, you know, I lost a lot of friends this way, that way, and the other. And I feel like all the people in my life right now are supposed to be in my life because they're all good people in their own way. Mm-hmm. They're all different types of people, but they all helped me on my journey. And that's all I could ever ask for. And I believe that was fully possible because of God.
So when in the process of you losing the people that you had in your life, what is how did you feel within that process? Did you know it was within God's work, or did you feel
No, I did not. At the time I was you know, because some of it was tragic, you know, and I'm I lost this person for this and this and that. But after time of thinking about it and talking to God, I realized this is God's way of showing me that these people weren't meant for my life in a full capacity. They might have been meant for my life to teach me a lesson or to be around in that moment, but they're not lifelong people. They're not lifelong friends. They're not meant for my journey.
Right.
And he showed me that. And it's some people, I was so entwined with them that I would have thought they would be my friends forever. And, you know, and if I had kept that feeling, you know, down the line, then they would have double-crossed me or shown their true colors. It would have been even worse because we would have been at a higher point of being in a friendship or just having them around. They would know too much information, you know what I mean? So I feel like God took those people out at the correct time, and it's benefited me tremendously, I believe, in my journey.
So as your spirit within God has grew over time, if you were to come across someone that was asking questions about God within their themselves, how would you explain your perspective in order for them to follow their perspective?
I would tell them hey man, I was down and out, you know, at certain points in my life, and I truly was far from God. Like, I didn't believe, I didn't think to look to Him, I didn't, you know, it was just, He was far away from me, you know, and there's a lot of reasons why, but I would just say, you know, God is within all of us. So if somebody's trying to reach out or trying to find their connection to God, that they should go for it.
Right.
And I would say they should put their whole heart on it and actually see like what it is. Talk to God. Tell Him your problems. Tell Him your issues, you know, because He's there for you. Even though you can't hear back, He's going to transcend the things you say into lessons and blessings and you know, other life tales. And it's true. And I feel like since I've talked to God more, like I've seen things change tremendously. It's not even on a normal scale. Like it's tremendous. And I know people are skeptical and some people don't believe because of their own hardships. And I used to feel like my life was very hard and like, why am I going through this? Why me? What did I do to deserve this? Because I feel like a good person.
Right.
But sometimes, you know, now that I'm at this position, I'm not saying my life is perfect, but looking back, it's like I learned this, that, and the third from that situation. I learned how to not be in that situation again. And that's, you know, tremendous for my life, because in the future, when I'm really trying to build something, I will never make the same mistakes again. And that's all it really was, is God teaching you a lesson.
As you were to continue like throughout your journey and you learn to understand your belief as it grows within over time, what is like the importance of consistency?
I mean, consistency is everything, man, because you can say, oh, I believe this, I believe that, but I feel like with consistency, it's helped me the most because I know I'm close to God. If I were just close to God for a week and go back to my old ways, then it wouldn't be consistent. And my life would be in an influx. It would be up and down, up and down. But since, you know, I consistently try to pray, you know, I'm not perfect, but I consistently talk to God. I consistently think about God. I think about my life and positive aspects and how I can improve and what I need to do. It's helped me. And I feel like people around me, how I know is like I can look at myself every day in the mirror, but I'm been blessed with people around me to tell me, you know, family members, my mom, hey, you've changed. You seem older, you seem more wise, you seem mature, you seem like you got it together. And I've been told by multiple people that, and I believe truly it's all because of God, because I accepted God and told Him I want to be on my journey as a man, and I want to be the best version of myself for you, for this world, and for my life. And I believe I've changed completely. Even in the past year, I was having a conversation with my mom a few weeks ago, and we talked for about 3 hours. And she was saying that to me, and I told her, like, you know, once I accepted God, like, I feel like a different person. Like, I look at myself a year ago, the situation I was in, everything, and I feel like a completely different person. I'm still me. Like, if somebody sees me, they recognize me, okay, but like deep down, like morally speaking, I am a different person right now.
I'm not gonna lie. So like a lot of questions that I wanted to ask you, you've been on point. Like you've like answered the questions I thought of my mind.
Right.
So it's like, since like now that you have your belief, and like now that you're consistent of your belief, what is the importance of love, and like how do you use love within like your perspective in order for you to like spread it within like yourself, but also the people around you as well?
I believe, you know, love is very deep. You know, it's a very deep aspect, whether it's loving your neighbor, your family, your significant other. And it's all through God. You know, if you have God in your life, it's easy to love. If you notice people that are far from God, a lot of times they have a lot of darkness, a lot of evil, a lot of, viciousness
right.
towards people. And even some people who claim to be of God are very, messed up people. But it's just all based on like practicing what you preach and truly having a good heart, for people, and knowing who's meant to be in your life, and maybe you're meant to be in somebody's life. Maybe God sent you to help somebody out, and you just got to know in that moment, like, okay, this is a calling for me. And it happens, and I believe that people who have a big heart and who love, they get in the right positions, because love is everything in this world. If we have no love, then it destroys us. And I feel like a lot of our like government and social media and things of that nature, they try to steer love from our lives. They put all this, filthy stuff in our music, in our, just everything you see, TV, internet, like, it's just all bad because they don't want people to be happy. They don't want happy couples. They don't want happy marriages. You know what I'm saying? And they want ratchet shit. They want you to be like, oh, I got a baby mama and like all this shit, and it'd be normal. When it didn't used to be normal 20 years ago, it was kind of like a messed up situation. But now it's like glorified in a way. And I believe they're trying to move us away from God and away from love. And God and love is like the two, it's really God, but then it's love, There's no love without God. And it's the two biggest aspects of the world, whether it be friendship, relationship, family member. Like, love is everything. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so I have like a question within that same subject that we just like talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that like when we follow within Christ, that like we are able to become more closer towards like the individual that is meant to be within our lives?
I believe so. I believe that God and Christ, there's an aspect, there's a person for you in this world. And there might be two people for you in this world. And what I mean by that, before it gets discombobulated, I mean like you might have a relationship in your 20s for 10 years, right? And that person taught you this, that, and the third. You had a great time with that person. They taught you so much. And then you might find your person when you're 45. Maybe. I'm not saying everybody's life is different. But I'm just saying things like that can happen. And I feel like God knows the people that need to be in your life in that certain time. We strive for love. We strive for forever, but obviously it's not a reality all the time because things don't always align. But when you're closer to God, I feel like you understand more who aligns with you and your morals. You start to see, like, I'll give you an example. I had a girl in my life, I'm not going to say any names or anything like that, but, I thought I felt a strong way about her. And once I got closer to God and my morals started to rise and, I started to understand who I wanted to be as a man, like in my future, I started to see like tendencies of this woman that didn't align with my new way of thinking once I got closer to God. And it was because I was more down here, like my vibration was lower, and we were kind of like,
that's when the connection more came into.
We had more of a connection because we were both down here.
Yeah.
And as I got up here, I was like, oh wait, I don't even see how I connected with you the same because, I've changed.
You're able to see like the difference within like their own like timelines.
Yes, and you notice things about them that you might have not noticed before, that might have not bothered you before because your morals have changed.
Okay, so now we're gonna go into a topic where like I won't really go much into this all the time like on this channel, but we are gonna be talking about sports. So me and my good friend John, we are actually Spurs fans.
Yes, Spurs fans.
On June 25th, the NBA draft is gonna come, and so we are actually thinking about who will be a good fit to be with the Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
There's many situations, there's many rumors and theories on how everything could go. So from what I've looked up, for the next 10 years, the Spurs do have 21 draft picks. They're able to trade or swap with other teams. So within the situation that we're in, we could either build it for the long term, which is victorious, or we could build it now, which is actually pretty good as well.
Yes.
So what is your theory, or what is the possibilities that you believe could happen?
In my honest opinion, what I think would be good for the Spurs, just my opinion, right? I believe there's been a lot of talk about them trading to get a superstar, KD, Giannis. I believe if they got Giannis, that would be a really good fit for the Spurs. I truly believe. I think him and Wemby would be really good. He's one of the top 5 players in the NBA. I think it would just put us in a playoff picture immediately with De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, the players we have, depending on who they would give up off the bench. But I just think Giannis is the best fit if they're going to go after a superstar. But when I look at the draft, everybody keeps talking about Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper looks like a really good player, but we already have 3 point guards, you know? So it's like, do we really need another one to like we're just gonna have a point guard lineup, and I think looking at Ace Bailey from Rutgers, he just seems to fit the mold. He could play the 3 or the 4, and I think he's more of a rebounder. He's more of a like offset shooter. I think he could complement Wemby a lot more if they're gonna go young than Dylan Harper. That's just my honest opinion.
Do you believe that the sense of the combination of Wemby and Giannis will blend well together, or do you think they will have they'll bet butt heads?
I don't think so. I feel like their personalities, I feel like Giannis is a very caring, giving person, and Wemby seems real genuine and caring as well. I think they would do well. I think Wemby would look up to Giannis because he's a champion and he's been one of the best players in the league for a while. So I think he could mentor him in a way that other players can't, because they're not really champions or top players. Wemby wants to be a top player, and Giannis has arguably been top 3 in the NBA every year. So he knows how to get there.
So what is the destruction that you believe will happen with Giannis, and how is their game playing mesh together? Because I know Wemby shoots threes, he's able to go in, and he's able to do all sorts of things. But more Giannis is more of an inside person. He's able to do shoot threes, but his game is more inside.
I believe they would destroy the league, man, because Giannis can dribble, Giannis can pass. He is more of an inside game, but he can shoot mid-range pretty well, open threes if he needs to, and he can facilitate. And I believe that it would just be dangerous because nobody would know where to guard Wemby and Giannis. They're the 4 and the 5, because Giannis could drive it on anybody. He drives it in. Wemby's out there on the 3. They're the center's not gonna gotta run out there and get Wemby, and it just could be a deadly combo. I truly believe he's the best option. I think if they're trying to win now, he's the best option.
How do you think the game playmaking would be between Harper, Fox, and Castle? And if they were the starting lineup, who would be the number 4th, and how would they cooperate with Wemby if they had all of them together?
I feel probably Sohan would have to start. He's the only 4 I think we have really besides Charles Bassey. I don't know if they would start him. He's really a 4 or 5 type of guy. And is Mamu a 4 or is he a 3?
I think it's a mix.
Okay, so maybe Mamu or who did I just say? Sorry. Bassey or the other guy. I can't think of his name. I don't know why I just forgot his name. But yeah, it would be one of them 3. And that's probably how they would do it, just with a point guard type of lineup.
If you were to draft, if you had let's say you were the manager for the Spurs, right?
Okay.
And instead of drafting Harper and trading for Giannis, and you were to get Ace Bailey, who would be the number 4 that you would get? Would you trade the number 14 future round picks, and would you trade some players for the sense of KD to be number 4th, or would you just sign a player?
I guess it really depends on who's available and what they're trying to look for at that pick. We could trade the pick and maybe get a solid role player somewhere that we know is going to come in and do some damage immediately, or we could just roll the dice and say, hey, maybe there's a young guy that could develop in a year or 2, or maybe he could just come in and be really nice off the bench. And I'm thinking more of a shooter.
Right.
If they're going to use the 14th pick, I'm looking for more of a shooter that maybe could come in right away and actually knock down shots and not be scared.
Would you believe that the Spurs will have a good record? Okay. Do you think the Spurs have been tanking the past couple of years just to develop, just to grab players and to develop them, and in order for them to build up a solid team, and then they're gonna in theory maybe start playing?
This is what I think. I know that the year we got Wemby, I know they were tanking.
Yeah.
Because they lost so many close games where Vassell, Keldon Johnson, these guys looked good. And we were fighting these teams, good teams, Warriors, Raptors, these good teams. And then we would just lose at the end. And everybody would watch Spurs games and be mad, why are the Spurs losing? And I knew they knew about Wemby, and I had been hearing about Wemby, and I'm man, I had been telling people, I think we're going to get this guy way before we even got him. He was shooting with Rudy Gobert and shit. And I was like, dude, we're gonna get this guy, and we got him. And after that, I believe they wanted to win. They wanted to give him, like, this year, was the second year. They wanted to give him, try to win. But then I think once De'Aaron Fox got injured and once he got injured, they were just like, we don't have to win because our stars are hurt. We're not going to win in the playoffs. Even if we got to the playoffs, like, it's going to be grimy. And I think they kind of just stopped playing towards the end just to see how high they can get on this draft in case we could get Cooper Flag.
If we do not trade, who do you think we will draft, realistically?
I hope Ace Bailey. I really hope they draft Ace Bailey. I just think Harper would be too, like, I feel like they would butt heads. Like, who's the point guard? We got Chris Paul, De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle. Who's the point guard? Who's the shooting guard? Like, it would just be too awkward of a lineup, in my opinion.
Right.
They say, oh, he's the best player available, but I feel like Ace Bailey could be a great player.
Right.
I've seen flashes. I've seen his shot. I've seen his athleticism, his height. He's 6'10". He has great skill. And a college game is different. Maybe he would flourish more in the NBA next to a Wemby and a Devin Vassell and these Stephon Castle. These guys, they're gonna be in the spotlight. So if Ace Bailey comes in, maybe he can get his shots and show what he can truly do. And I feel like it'd be a good situation with him.
Nice.
So I'd like to say thank you everyone for watching. A lot of questions that I did want to ask in my mind, he pretty much just answered them like throughout like his way of speaking. And I'm very glad that you came by and that you're able to answer these questions. And I'm glad that we were able to get like a different perspective on someone else's belief on God, and then also within the sports world as well.
I just want to say this is a great friend of mine. Thanks for having me. I love being on this channel, and hopefully we get some good questions, and in the future maybe we could do it again.
Thank you for watching.